I got to Snowdon at dawn and was amazed to find the car park at Penny Pass already full and a guy with a high-vis jacket telling people not to try and park on the road. I had to drive about half an hour down the hill to find a lay-by where lots of other people were walking up the road with their head torches on to get back to the track head. So at the end of this, I was faced by a 40-minute walk back up to the starting point of the track. But fortunately, it was light enough by this point that I could walk on an actual track rather than having to trudge up the road like all the people I'd seen. Eventually, I started off up the miners' track, one of the easiest tracks up Snowdon, past a series of beautiful mountain lakes. As I got a bit higher, the waterfalls along the side started to be frozen. The mountain was covered in cloud, it was cold. Then things got really fun as I started to go up an almost vertical section of the track to join the other more famous pig track. Track was well made, stone steps, but completely covered in ice, like a waterfall of ice. This is where I had to put my ice spikes on, the kind of mini crampon system that everybody seems to use these days. Started to meet more people. We were all tramping up the ice with our ice spikes and crampons. When I hit the junction with the pig track, there was a huge stream of people. After a little while, the ice was covered in snow. Everything got easier again. Some of the people with big mountain crampons took their crampons off. And once we were on the snow, it was quite a short walk to the summit. I took my turn on the cairn. Lots of different tracks converge here, and even though it was freezing cold with no views in the fog, crowds of people, I took my turn up on the summit cairn. Then I had a cup of tea and walked back down and drove back to the campsite to hunker down in my tent and have a warm cup of tea. Next morning I decided to walk up something in southern Snowdon called Yr Wydffa. Completely different experience. I only saw 3 people all day. Started out in a beautiful green valley looking up at the crags above me. Pretty soon I left the green valley behind, was climbing over moorland, up a gully, until eventually I came out on the tops where it was freezing. The path was basically a frozen swamp of hard ice, snow around. It started to snow, so I'm pushing along in this wind and snow, got really cold. Eventually I stopped for a cup of tea and the sun came out for half an hour and was absolutely transformed. But I still decided I'd really run out of time, turned round, and I was very glad I did because it started snowing again as I went back down the gully past some frozen waterfalls. Then I treated myself to a slap-up dinner in a beautiful old pub on one of the estuaries that comes in from the Atlantic, or the Irish Sea, I guess. Then hunkered down in my tent for another night. It snowed during the night, and I was up at dawn shaking the snow off my tent in time to drive back to Norfolk.